All right, you guys, as you see, I am back with a book review, and this book is called You Can't Break Me, Revenge is So Sweet, and it is by Clara Allen-Taylor. So, this book was by far one of the most, honestly, disturbing reads that I have read. I don't even know if I can only say this year, but like by far, this was one of the most books that just made me kind of stop and pause and be like, what the hell did I just read? So the main character of this book, it starts off and she's 8 years old. And she had rough beginnings to begin with. It is very clear that she has a mother who is more hooked on drugs than caring about being a parent to her or any of her brothers. She has older brothers. The main one that she spends time with is Trey. She has another older brother. Well, she has two other older brothers, and they kind of like are so involved in the streets that they don't really have a care in the world about her either. So it's like she only really has one person in her corner. So the book starts off normal until she hits her 8th birthday, and her mother decides that she's going to sell her to this man that basically sells drugs for $3,200 pretty much. So the man that the mother sells her to, his name is Clarence. And I'm like so disgusted because she's literally 8 and her mother sold her to him to have sex with her twice a week to pay for all of the bills in the house. And then Clarence gives her money on the side. And it just was like, it was just so disturbing even to just read that. Like, I get that that happens, but it just was like, oh my God, it just was gross to me. Because Clarence is very clearly in his 20s. Like, it's disgusting either way. It doesn't matter what age group it is, she's 8. So that disgusted me alone. What also disgusted me was this went on for years. Like, her brother Trey seemed like the only person that was truly disturbed and bothered by what was happening. There was a part in the book where he was saying that he tried to fight for custody for Asia, and he didn't understand basically how Clarence could even get off on trying to deal with her. And it was just like, while he was trying to fight for custody, like the mother was saying no because she wanted to be able to try and keep Asia in the house so that all the bills could be paid for. Every time that Clarence was sleeping with her, he was giving her money and stuff, and I guess he was giving her like $400 each time or more every time that he slept with her, which also threw me off too, because I'm like, if he's tossing this amount of money to her, why the hell are they still living in the hood? Like, she's putting the money away and she's not saving it. But if he is giving her $400 or something every time he sleeps with her twice a week, how much is he possibly giving the mother? It made no sense to me. So she hits 15 and she ends up discovering that she's pregnant, and she's pregnant by Clarence. The mother tells her, you need to have an abortion because no man is going to want to be with you if you're pregnant, and that's going to stop him spending money in the house. Her brother Trey, when she goes to him and tells him, he's kind of like, well, you're going to be able to do whatever it is you want to do, kind of to an extent. She even herself, she's like, I'm not going to have an abortion. Clarence finds out in some crazy roundabout way that she's pregnant, and he kind of has the same feelings that she has of like, well, not necessarily. He's the one that mainly felt like, you know what, I don't want you to have an abortion. So he was like, but at the same time, he kind of felt like he was going to give her a choice. And the thing that was weird about him was he was telling her, like, oh, you're only 15. Are you sure you want to sign up for this? And even Asia said to him at one point, like, oh, so I'm only 15, but I'm good enough for you to sleep with, but I'm not grown enough for me to have a kid. Like, it just was like, what the hell? So in that conversation, he supposedly gives her $4,200 right then and there, too. And I get that he's selling drugs and stuff, but the amounts of money that he was giving her just seemed kind of ridiculous. Like, I didn't understand. So it hits a point where Asia is having a conversation with her brother when she finally kind of gets away from her mom, which her mother's name is Wanda. She finally gets away from her mom and Clarence, and she's trying to hide, and she's off with her brother Trey. And this has been going on for 3 weeks now or so. Like, things have been going good to an extent. Trey's father just passed away, so he just inherited businesses and a house, and financially Trey is set enough to be able to take care of his sister, even though himself, he's only like, Trey is older. I want to say Trey is like 7 years older than her or so. I want to say that's what it has said in the beginning of the book, that he's older. So at this point, Trey is probably like 24, 25, whatever. But he is set financially, pretty much. So when Asia goes to get her safe so she could take it to Trey's house, their account, well, she already claims she already knows how much money she has. What baffles me is she says to him that she has $660,000 saved up at 15. And it kind of just like threw me off because I'm like, okay, I get that he was giving her $400 or more. She is 15. I don't understand how it's possible for her to have that much money in her possession. Apparently, Trey and Asia go to the bank together, and come to find out, she actually has more than that. She actually has $952,000 and some change. And I, again, was like, I get that it's urban fiction, but this don't even feel like believable. That felt excessive. Like, if she had $1 million, why, almost $1 million, why was she staying in the house? Why did she not already leave her situation? Like, it just made no sense to me. It just made no sense. If Trey was already there and willing to be there for her, why didn't she go to him and tell him, like, hey, I have money saved up. Can you get me away? Can you keep me safe? Like, it made no sense. But then what also disgusted me was in the scene where they're talking about them going to the bank. Asia says, just like he said, we went to the bank the next day and opened a new savings account. The teller informed us that I had exactly $952,978. Damn, that's a lot for a 15-year-old in the hood. Other than my baby, this is another thing I can thank Clarence for. That line creeped me the fuck out. It literally creeped me out, and it just was like, what? Like, it disgusted me because she's literally being raped. Like, there's no way to put it. She's 15. Like, I don't know about other states. New York State, that is rape. They don't care if you're 18 sleeping with a 15-year-old. That is rape. Like, that's rape. And it's very clear that Clarence is way older. So for her to even be on some, like, oh, that's another thing that Clarence gave me was my baby. Like, to me, I was just like, that sounds absolutely gross. She gains an inch. This was like the most instant love situation I've ever witnessed. She gains an interest in one of Trey's workers, and the boy is 18, and the boy's name is Will. So it's like Will had kind of, I'm assuming Will had been around her for some point in time, whatever, but it was weird because at the hospital, it's like her older brother Trey is there and then Will is there. But I didn't understand why Will would be there and in the room, because this is such like I wouldn't want strangers in the room while I'm getting ready to give birth. Like, it's not like Will's a stranger, but at the same time, she has her brother there. So she even says to him, like, at one point, Will, are you going to stay in the room with me? She asks him, like, are you going to stay in the room? So he says to her, hell yeah, I want to see this. She says, I don't want you looking at my vagina. He said, well, I'm going to see it today because I want to see you push little man out and I'm filming. That even creeped me out too, because I was just like, what? Like, I get it that she's 15, so some of her thoughts are immature and juvenile as shit, but how do you say, I don't want you seeing, like, maybe they were saying it in a playful manner, maybe whatever, but to me, it's like, for her to even say, I don't want you seeing me like that. Her and this man have never been intimate before. They've never had a conversation about liking each other before. No, nothing. How, like, going forward, because I just didn't understand. Literally hours later, she's holding her son, And she says that her son, she named it Junior. So at this point, I'm like, why the hell would she name her son after the man that's been raping her? Like, why would she name it after Clarence? It made no sense to me, and I'm again disgusted. So Trey leaves her there with Will, and they're sitting there on the bed, and they're talking. And if it literally feels like it's been maybe less than, I don't know, 5 hours since she had this kid, if it's even been hours, but Trey goes to go take care of something, and Will is sitting there with her. And they're sitting there talking, and she's telling him, like, you don't have to stay here with me. I'm fine. He tells her I'm not going anywhere. She is having this thought, and the thought is, she says, God, I love his thick New Orleans accent. Just the sound of it makes me weak. I don't know what type of hormones rushed through her body after she had a kid. After I had mine, the last thing I was thinking about within the first couple hours was anything sexual. Like, there just wasn't happening. Like, it just was not. It creeped me out too, because again, she's 15, he's 18. Yes, you can say like, oh, she's about to turn 16, and yes, you can say he just turned 18. To me, that's still disgusting, because she's 18, he's 18. I don't give a damn about 3 years. That is still legally rape in New York State. Anyway, so within a couple pages, now he is holding the baby. And it's just weird, again, because he's telling her, Will is expressing to her he has an interest in her. And she says to him that she's not interested in the boys that pay her attention because she's interested in men. And she says how she's been through a lot at her age. And now Will is asking her, well, what kind of men are you into? And even that threw me off, because I'm like, what do you mean you're interested in men? You are 15. Like, it just... I was waiting for there to be a moment where a social services person came in, where a nurse came in and asked who the hell got this 15-year-old pregnant. I was waiting for there to have been a moment where someone could have came in and helped evaluate her, get her some mental help, get her some parenting help, something. Because this girl is so far she needs help. She needs emotional help. And it just was kind of creepy to me that at a time of vulnerability, Will is even sitting here expressing to her for the first time that he wants to get to know her and be her man and this and that. And I'm just like, again, she just had this baby within like hours. Within hours. I just wasn't understanding, why was that the time to express an interest in her? It was just, I felt like that was borderline preying on her. Because when are you most vulnerable outside of when you're pregnant and when you have a child? Like, when are you the most emotionally vulnerable? Like, she has no father figure outside of like Trey, her brother. Her mother's not there. She's been raped and molested for the past literally 8 years. Like, I couldn't take it anymore. So at some point it becomes cleared up that she actually did not name the baby Junior after Clarence. She named the baby Junior after her brother Trey. And I get naming the kid like Trey, but like I've never seen someone before name a baby after their sibling and then name it Junior. Like, I really thought that Junior was just for like when it's their kid, like, and they're naming it. I don't know. It was just weird to me. I don't know. It would have been even cool if I don't know. I don't even know if I would have been cool with like Trey the second. Like, I don't know. It was weird to me, to say the least. It just was different. And even there was a scene in the hospital where Will is there. The other worker, Chris, is there that works for Trey. And now Clarence is there. And they're kind of all getting into it because Clarence is there at the hospital showing his ass. At one point, Will and Chris both pull out weapons because they're arguing. What kind of hotel are these? Not hotel, but hospital are these people in where you can get past security clearance with weapons? Like, I don't know. It just was different. This book was definitely different. There was a lot of questionable things about this book, even as far as her 16th birthday, her saying that her brother was willing to throw her a birthday party. For the birthday party, they did a tattoo and piercing pool party at his house. I just don't understand. There is no reason to me why a 16-year-old is throwing and hosting a piercing and tattoo party. Yes, her brother has her in night classes and in school so that she's able to become a senior and try to graduate early or on time from high school. Yes, I get that. But it just was like, why is this girl getting tattoos at 16? Yes, I remember being in high school with girls that were 16, 15 with tattoos, and that shit was weird to me back then, and that was almost 10 years ago. That is still weird to me now because it's just like, maybe at 18, but at 16, like, I wasn't with it. I wasn't for it. Even Will and her deciding that they were gonna be talking, whatever, for him to even get her name tattooed on him and he's only 18, all I could think of was, you know what? This is exactly how you end up with someone's name tattooed on you and then a year later, y'all not even speaking. Like, I just wouldn't want someone that's 16, 17, 18 reading this book and being like, you know what, that actually sounds like a good idea. Or, you know what, that's actually not all that bad. Because to me, it was just like, yeah, the shit is that bad. So I was still honestly trying to give this book a try. But what really stopped me was there's a point when Asia is trying to return to the house, and it seems like, not Trey, Will is driving, and the boy, Chris, is in the back seat. So it was clear that Chris was real fidgety and this and that, but it just was like, whatever. Asia finds herself caught in a situation where she's been ambushed by her two brothers that are pieces of crap, and by the baby father, Clarence. They're at the house. I'm not really sure why Trey wasn't at the house. I thought she was supposed to have, well, you know what? She did have two people with her at all times, just like how they had said. The only issue is it felt like, I don't know. Chris became like a crackhead overnight. Poor Chris. I don't understand. But her brothers are really working with Clarence, and they're like, oh, you left the house and he told you to come back and now we had no money, so we decided to work for him, so this is just what we're going to do. And it just was like, honestly, the line that made me say, you know what, I can't do this shit anymore, was literally when her older brother is talking to her. And she's saying, like, Tyrone is talking to her. Tyrone and Jarrell are her two brothers. And Clarence is literally saying, Clarence is like, I know this nigga's not asking about my son. So she tells him, Clarence, put my son down. So he's sitting here and they're talking, and like her brother snaps because she's like, how is it that my brother is really trying to, how are her two brothers working against her for money? Like, it just made no sense. So she says, Trey is going to kill you when he finds out. So the brother says, bitch, don't nobody give a damn about Trey. But lil sis, look how you've grown though. I wonder how that pussy feels. So she says, you're a sick bastard. The brother says to her, what, you give that nigga and Clarence some, but won't give your own brother none. I bet Trey been in and out of that pussy for years. That was honestly the point where I was like, yo, I'm done. I'm done. Because, let's see, at that point, I was 63% through the book. I can't read that type of crap. Because to me, it triggers something within me that I'm not willing to read that. I'm sorry. That was so just, it's one thing to read that a 15-year-old, 16-year-old has been raped for years. That's one thing. But to sit here and read that her brother is on some, like, why can't I sleep with you too? Or whatever. That was for me the point where I was like, yo, I'm out. I couldn't take it no more. I can't think of a single person that I would be able to say, you know what, this is a book you should pick up and read, because it was honestly disgusting in so many different ways and forms. Even when I was feeling happy for Asia, it was like she would turn around and say something where it was just like, girl, that's not nothing to be happy about, or that's not nothing to say in that way. It just, If you have a stronger stomach, maybe you can handle it. Maybe I'm just too sensitive and passionate about subjects like that, so therefore it rubbed me so wrong that I was just like, you know what, I can't. But this book should have on the front cover, the same way how some movies and shit have like parental warning, explicit, whatever. This book should really have trigger warning on the cover for people that have been through rape, molestation, sexual abuse. Like, this book should really have a warning at the beginning of, if you don't feel comfortable reading something like this might not be the book for you. Because although I could sit here and I could get up to this point and that's where I tapped out, I don't really know where other people would tap out. I've read another book before by this author. I couldn't even tell you what the name of it was right now because it's slipping my mind. This book was a short story. It was 46 pages. It typically takes less than an hour, it says, to read. And the book was fast paced. I just cannot get past her brother asking why he can't sleep with her. At that point, I'm going to be honest, I don't care to know how the story ends because it just was too disgusting up to that point. I was really hoping that her story would turn around at some point and things would get better because it seemed like it was, but all of the references to her being violated sexually, that's where I get off. So, I don't really feel comfortable giving this book a star rating because I think you guys can tell already how I feel about the book. So, I will say I'm sure that I did possibly enjoy the other book that I read by this author. You guys are more than willing to check that out. If you read this book and you felt a different way or you had similar feelings, I'd love to read how you guys feel in the comments below. But outside of that, I will see you guys in the next review.